Greg, you can check out if you need to. We'll only keep it like 5 minutes because we're past time. But Louis, how you doing today?
I'm good. How you doing?
Appreciate you being here. We just wanted the rundown on Northwestern with, of course, the Wildcats. Everybody, I think, has picked up on this narrative that they're down 1 year, they're up the next year, they're down 1 year. That's a bit overplayed, but that's been the last 4 years. Before that, Pat Fitzgerald and company were on a pretty good run every year, getting to bowl games almost every season. But does it appear with Ryan Helinski and company? I believe he's won the starting quarterback job, or don't we know at this point?
No, we don't know yet. Fitz had an opportunity to make a statement yesterday in the press conference, and he said, I'm not going to tell you anything. So I think he just wants to, we'll see who trots out there with the first team offense on Saturday. I think it'll be Helinski probably, but, no one knows for sure.
I'll note here that in doing some research just to see overrated teams, underrated teams, kind of traditionally, obviously Northwestern gets disregarded consistently. Pat Fitzgerald has brought home 5 top 25 teams, but he's never had a team ranked preseason. Just never get considered preseason. How good do you think this football team was? Because obviously we saw one of the worst Northwestern teams under Pat Fitzgerald last year.
Yeah, absolutely. They've got a lot of questions on both sides of the ball. I think they're going to be better almost everywhere, offensively, defensively, special teams. I think they'll be better across the board. I think the question is, what does that translate to in terms of wins and losses? Northwestern, like you said, they've been riding the roller coaster the last 4 years, right? They won the Big Ten West. They went 3-9. They won the Big Ten West, went 3-9 again. And a consistent thing has been quarterback play. It's been shaky. Those down years in 2019 and 2021, they just haven't had the passing game going, and it hamstrung the offense. But last year, I think what was alarming is for the first time, the defense, really the bottom fell out of the defense. They got shredded quite a bit. It was defensive coordinator Jim O'Neill's first year. They had definitely some pains getting through that process of a new system, and that coupled with an offense that can't move the ball, and that's why you end up 3-9. And not only that, but in 2019 they were losing a lot of close games. Last year they got hammered quite a bit, and no one hammered them as well as the Huskers did.
Louis, is Blake Gallagher, is he the last holdover from that tremendous linebacking core that played in those Big Ten championship games? Is he the last one with Patty Fisher and those guys?
Actually, that's his brother. It's Bryce Gallagher is there now.
I was going to say, it seemed like he was around too long. Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, it's Bryce Gallagher. So none of them are, all three of them, they used to call it the Irish law firm, right? It was Fisher, Gallagher, and Bergen. So they're all gone now. Bergen actually played 6 years. And, Patty Fisher was a 4-year starter, and he's someone that everybody tells me it seems like he was there for 10 years. But, yeah.
Absolutely. And lose a good one in Brandon Joseph, obviously, is a 3-year starter, one of the best DBs in the Big Ten.
Yeah, that one stung for sure. He was an All-America in 2020 as a redshirt freshman when Northwestern had that big year. He had 6 interceptions, which co-led the country. Last year, though, he did take a step back. I will say that. He had some problems tackling. He had to do a lot more run support because teams are running on him, unlike in 2020 when they had a lights-out defense. Last year, they had their share of problems, and I think he got exposed a little bit in the running game. But I think he's going to Notre Dame. They got a very good team around him. I think he'll go back to playing that ball hawk that he likes to play, and I'm sure he'll have a outstanding year. And, he wanted to improve his draft stock, and we'll see if he can do it.
Is the running game going to count on Evan Hall as much as it did last year with over 1,000 yards, or are there other backs that may jump in there?
Yeah, it's funny because they got 2 very good backs right now. So Evan Hall, he wasn't even supposed to be the starter last year, right? They had Cameron Porter as a true freshman in 2020, came on late in the season, had 3 straight 100-yard games. He's a real workhorse, 230-pound power back, really had a strong end of the year. And then he tore his ACL before the season last year in fall camp. He tore it up in August, like about a year ago this time. So he missed all of last year. Evan Hall went out, ran for 1,000 yards, got a lot of tough yards too with that offense. I mean, he really proved something as both a power runner and a guy that has some long speed. He broke off a few long runs. So I think together, they're little thunder and lightning. Northwestern's always been kind of a one-back set, but I think we're going to see quite a bit of two backs this year, just trying to get their best players on the field. I think we'll see Hull and Porter together quite a bit.
Got Louis Vatcher here from Wildcat Report on Rivals. Check out his work. I'll bring up the banner here in just a second. Greg, do you have anything for Louis?
Hey, Louis, what's the biggest concern you're hearing out of the Northwestern camp about playing Nebraska?
Well, they could look at last year's film if they want to see some concern, right?
Different team, though. Different.
Well, yeah, very, very different team. You're right. I think it all starts, to me, it's going to be Northwestern's going to want to pound the ball. The quarterback position's unsettled. They don't have a lot of speed on the outside like game breakers. They're going to want to line up and run the football on the Huskers. So that's concern number one. Can that offensive line push people off the ball? And then the exact opposite on the defensive side. Last year, their biggest problem was the front seven. They finished like 119th in the country against the run. The Huskers ran for over 400 yards against them last year, right? So they've got to be much better up front. Now, they brought in 4 grad transfer defensive linemen. They brought in a linebacker that will play a lot, if not start. So they address those issues, but they still have a lot to prove for sure.
And it's both, both teams are an unknown going into this game. So it's.
Yeah. Fitz talked yesterday about how much film work they have to do, right? Because they got to watch Mark Whipple at Pitt, and then they got to watch Casey Thompson at Texas, try to figure out what they're going to do, what they're going to want to run. And then obviously Mark Frost's offense. So they've had a lot of homework, and you're right. They're a question mark. Northwestern's a question mark. It's an interesting game for sure.
It is.
Louis, looking more big picture at Northwestern's program, of course, they built that amazing facility right there on Lake Michigan. And they got off to a tremendous start in the recruiting process for 2023. Yeah. I don't know that anyone expected they were going to maintain a top 15 class. So was that more just the timing of the situation before some of the elite programs started to really catch up? Or has there really been a difference in recruiting here recently?
Well, it's definitely for Northwestern, this is a very good class regardless, right? They've got 4 stars already. That's the most Fitz has ever had. He's done that one other time in his career. And 2 of those guys were Clayton Thorson and Justin Jackson, all-time leading rusher, all-time leading passer. So yeah, their recruiting has definitely been upgraded, but yeah, they were up in the top 5 for a while. They were in the top 10 almost all, for several months up there. And that was just a function of they hit a lot of guys early. They had 14, 15, 16 recruits when other schools had 7, 8, 9. So that was the biggest factor there. So yeah, we all expected they're going to fall off, but I think it'll still end up, if it ends up in the 30s or 40s, that's still, that's probably the high watermark for Fitz. So, yeah, they've got a good class, and they've definitely been aided by the size and when they landed those guys.
All right, it's Northwestern and Nebraska. If you throw out last year, which of course they played, it counted 7 touchdowns, but man, 7 consecutive 1-score games before that. So this has been a close series, and they pretty much trade wins for the most part between these two. And of course, the Wildcats can't be disregarded. 2 Big Ten Western Division championships and strong showings in the Big Ten title game twice in the last 4 years. So, Louis, we appreciate you being here.
And I think that the smart people have to throw out last year's game. It's a brand new game this year.
Yeah, and the one thing too, Scott Frost said that they unleashed a couple wrinkles on them that they hadn't shown before. They ran some things offensively and caught them off guard, and boy, it was 21-0 in 10 minutes or something like that. And then it just steamrolled. The snowball picked up momentum, and they just got steamrolled. So Northwestern's got something to prove. I'll say that. I think.
Absolutely.
Louis, just before we let you go and wrap it up here, what makes me think that if somebody showed me a final score right now, I would be able to tell you who won the game? The lower the better for the Wildcats.
Oh,
a kind of I don't want to say lazy. They're going to be out there hustling, busting their tails. But from a viewing standpoint, lazy, running the clock, 17-13. That's Northwestern's game.
That's Northwestern football, right? When they won those titles, that's how they played great defense, did just enough offensively, let you make a mistake, and then it beat you. You know, that's their MO. They'd love to see that on Saturday, a nice low-scoring game, run the football. And, you know, Nebraska has a tendency to make mistakes, right? That's been their history, especially under Frost. And that's what they'll do. They'll, you know, take them in the deep water and see if they make the mistake that cost them the ball game.
Or if somebody showed us the stat that Big Pete's showing us right there in Nebraska with 427 rushing last year in Northwestern 37, I think we could all pick a winner there.
It felt like 4,000 yards. I'll tell you, that was unbelievable.